Yeah, I mean, Dan has no real support from our community anymore. I mean, he did that to himself. And I think I think you watched the recent Sean Ryan show where, I mean, Dan called Sean and threatened him and was like, my friends at Team 6 will come get you. And it's like, there's two stupid things about that statement. It's one, you're not calling anybody at Team 6 to go beat up Sean Ryan. And guys aren't going to go, even if you have friends there, they're going to be like, dude, fight your own battles. And that's the other thing. It's like, why don't you do it yourself, Dan? Like, and that's where it's, I think guys have really, they're disappointed in him. And also he just puts a stain, not only on our SEAL community, but on veterans as a whole. It's because I think people do have this belief in veterans, like we talked about earlier, and they expect a lot out of them. They're like, dude, you're a veteran. That means you follow by these X, Y, and Z values, which is why we want you in office. But when you get in there and you're doing the exact opposite of that, it just sheds a bad light across veterans across the board, especially guys that are running for office,
right?
Because then they're looked at like, well, you're just going to be another Dan Crenshaw. And Dan's not the only veteran that's in there not doing great things. But we're talking about today because that's who you're running against. But yeah, I mean, his support has dwindled, and he does himself no favors. His ego's too big. He will not allow himself to say, yes, I made a mistake. I think that would go so far for him if he would just be like, you know what, I screwed up, and I'm going to try and fix it or do better. But he's so self-involved and just thinks that he's got a very, and this is another thing I think, he's got this very elitist attitude, right? That's not because he's in Congress. That elitist attitude is taught to officers, and I've seen it across the board, that when they put something out, it cannot be questioned. How dare you question what I put out? And then if you do have any questions or say anything, they will talk to you in such a manner where it's so condescending, and they're like, you just don't understand the big picture, and you don't understand why we're doing these things. And I see it in Dan. Anytime he gets questioned, he has this very, well, you just don't get it. You're too dumb to understand why I make these decisions. And it's this elitist, condescending attitude, and people can't. I mean, you can't have that kind of attitude for this long. People are going to get tired of it. It's like, we want somebody authentic, somebody real, somebody that's like, hey, yes, I'm not a perfect human being, but these are my values. This is what I strive to be. And he just does not represent that at all.
Hey, what's up, guys? So today's episode is brought to you by our proud sponsor, Elevated Silence. This is one of my favorite sponsors, not only because Jim Hood is a very dear, close friend of mine. He's been on this podcast several times, but because I am an avid user of this product. As you guys know, I love to go to the range. I love to train civilians and law enforcement. And this is a suppressor that I use each and every time I go to the range. I can tell you this, every time I bring it out, I get nothing but compliments of just how quiet it is. People are always looking for these differences in suppressors. They want it lightweight, but with lightweight, it's probably going to be a little bit louder. The heavier the weight, it's going to be quieter. And I think Jim has found the perfect combination of both, which is why I love this suppressor. He makes everything from 22 to 300 Norma. So if you guys are looking for a suppressor for your rifle or pistol, be sure to check Elevated Silence out. Use the code SMS15 to get 15% off. And also he has some awesome merch for these red hats and this red shirt right now. If you purchase it, a percentage of the proceeds goes to the American Suppressor Association, which will defend your rights to be able to use suppressors as you should, as any American should. All right. Thank you, and God bless.
Welcome back to Shoot Me Straight with Eddie and Dave. Today we have Steve Toth. I've been waiting for this for a while. This is, we tried to get this done last month.
Yeah.
And by the grace of God, Steve survived without going in the plane. But Steve, you are running for the 2nd District.
2nd Congressional District, yes, sir.
Yes, against the one and only Dan Crenshaw, which everybody knows my feelings on him. But I'm glad to have you on, and we're going to get into exactly why you're running and just your background.
Cool.
Well, there's no problem. If you had a gun, shoot him in the head.
Dan was not a very good SEAL. He was not a very good officer. And I didn't work with him, but since I put that video out, I've gotten reached out to by multiple members who have worked, guys that worked with him. They're like, dude, this was him in a nutshell. Like, not a good officer, but he had this elitist attitude, even as a junior officer, which you're a new guy. But he was like, I can do no wrong. Now, he got injured on deployment, which I don't wish upon anybody. That was, but it happened. That is the best and worst thing that could happen to Dan. So it's the best thing that could happen to Dan because he used that to then propel himself to where he's at now, right? It's the worst thing, though, because I think America has this blindfold on of like, oh, if you're a veteran or if you've served in the military or especially if you're a special operations SEAL, Green Beret, you get an automatic pass. It's like, oh, this guy is a hero. And I'm sure a lot of people, including my parents, everybody voted, was behind him when he ran because of that, because he was a SEAL and they were labeled a war hero.
That's what drew me to him.
Yes.
Yeah.
He legitimately thinks he's a hero. Like, he was told it enough times to where in his head, he's like, I am a hero. I'm an American hero. And he uses that as a shield. He uses the trident. He uses his past job. He uses the American belief that they have in him as like he's this American hero. He uses that as a shield. And behind that shield, he does all this corrupt stuff. But he's like, you can't say anything to me because I was a SEAL, because I got wounded in combat. Now, coming from our community, we don't consider him a hero. He did nothing heroic. He got injured. And I feel sorry for him that he got injured. I don't wish that upon anybody, but no heroic actions were taken by him that day. An IED went off and he got injured. That's it. And that's the way we look at him. It's like you did nothing out of the ordinary to label yourself as a hero, right? But I think because of, and I've seen it not just with him, I see and we've talked about this on the podcast, with other veterans that get out and they establish themselves in certain places. And the American people, they're grateful for their service, but the word hero is so watered down. It gets thrown around so loosely, but these veterans will believe like, no, I am a hero, which then if they already have an ego like Dan did, it just boosts that even more to where it's like, I'm untouchable.
I mean, the vast majority of veterans that I've met through Mighty Oaks, to the T, all of them have said, I'm not a hero. But the guys that didn't come home with
Yep,
they're heroes. But it's funny, like dozens and dozens and dozens, and especially special forces guys, like that I've met through Chad. You'd mentioned Ben Ives as an example.
Mm-hmm.
You talked to Morgan Luttrell. It's the same thing. And these guys are they're heroes to us, but never, ever would they consider themselves heroes. There's such a spirit of humility in these guys.
Yeah, and I
Usually.
think the majority of guys are like that. Right?
Yeah.
It's just you have the outliers who are the loudest, and that's what people, are drawn to. And
It's really easy to market to civilians. I mean, you got a patch on your eye, you're a Navy SEAL. Oh, wow. Like, it's marketing towards us, and we suck it up. We'll be like, oh, yeah, he's a hero. Yeah, he's a Navy SEAL. He got injured in combat. Oh, for sure, this guy would make a great congressman. That's the kind of congressman I'd want, And you just don't understand.
He completely told us everything we wanted to hear. So there was a guy that was running that had served in the Texas House, came in a couple of years after me, served like 1 term, 2 terms, and then decides he's going to run for Congress, right? Mm-hmm. And all the money was behind him, the establishment was behind him, but the guy was super squishy. Nice guy, but super squishy. Mm-hmm. And all of a sudden, this Navy SEAL comes along who was injured in the line of duty and said everything that we wanted to hear.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And we just bought into it, hook, line, and sinker. I knocked on doors for him. I encouraged our local Tea Party to get behind him. He's barely got into the runoff, and then won.
Yeah.
But, we felt like...
Why do you think so? I know this is not your first time in politics.
Right.
And where does that train of thought come from? Because it's not, I think it's been around for a while where it's like if someone served in the military, it's already like an automatic, like level
But
up.
you can't appreciate the fact that I didn't serve.
Yeah.
And I feel like you did something for our country that I should have done.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a fact. I mean, as a young man, we were post-Vietnam. There was nothing going on overseas. But I still feel like I look at the service that you guys gave to our country and feel like I should have done that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I can understand that, but I mean,
that's really
you're
true.
serving this country.
Yeah, but it's different.
And I get there's different levels, but at the same time,
I take criticism. You're not. I didn't put my life on the line like you guys did.
But that was a voluntary choice by all of us to do that.
Right.
But what I'm saying is I don't understand the thought process of just because someone volunteered, which is, hey, you can be like, thank you for your service, thank you for doing that. But I don't understand how that automatically levels you up when it comes to politics, and then nobody looks at the whole man concept behind that, where what is this person's character? I know plenty of heroes. I know plenty of guys that would give their life for me, that have done heroic things. I wouldn't put them in charge of anything. They're not. They have some attributes where I'm like, no, you should not be in Congress. You should. But I'm thankful that we have you in this country, right? I don't. But that's where I get so frustrated, because there are good dudes that are veterans that run for Congress, and I'm not saying there are. They're guys trying to do the right thing, but it just seems to me like it shouldn't be an automatic like, oh, you serve this country, great. You have one leg up on this guy who didn't serve. But it's like, well, this guy, you, for example, you're a family man, you're a Christian, you have like all of your values align with somebody that I would want to represent me and so it's unfair to me. It's like, just because you didn't serve in the military, you already look like, oh, well, you don't have what this guy has. And it's like, well, why don't you dig behind what this guy stands for? Like, well, you can use Dan as a perfect example because that's who you're running against. I mean, the guy up front, yes, wounded, SEAL, all this, great. That looks great right up front. Take a peek behind. He's an alcoholic. He's unfaithful to his wife. He's openly admitted, has multiple mistresses on podcasts, or at least he had a mistress. He doesn't do what he says. He has a list since he's been in Congress of allegations that he consistently denies. Now, I get when you're in politics, you will get attacked, and there are some things that you're going to have to like, hey, this isn't true, whatever. But when the list continues to grow, and then it's the same response, not me. They're just, and I remember his response on the last podcast he done, Anti-Hero, when they even brought it up, they're like, how is it you have all these allegations against you and you've denied, like, we brought up 7 of them and you keep denying them? Like, that doesn't make sense to us. And he said it verbatim. Everybody wants to bring down a hero.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. And I have it. We can, yeah, I actually reposted that. I was like, this is him in a nutshell. He thinks he's a hero. But at what point, though, is it not like, can people figure it out? Like, this guy's not a good person. Like, he is, at his core, he is not a good individual. He's not making decisions for the people that he's representing. He's making decisions for his own selfish reasons to, and I just don't understand how he keeps getting, like, reelected, which I want to get into with you. Like, how does that happen? And I know, like, he's in with the lobbyists and all that. And I'd like you to sort of describe how that happens, because I think for a lot of us, we're like, we all understand, like, people want to serve in politics for the right reason. Like, I think majority of people, it seems to me, start off in that. They're like, I want to make a difference. I want to, shake things up. But then they sort of disappear into the swamp. And then next thing you know, you're like, dude, you've joined the team, right? Or the swamp. How does that happen? Because this is not your first time.
No, it's not. So I've got consistently one of the most conservative voting records in the entire Texas legislature over the years. And leadership will come to you and they'll say, you want to be effective for your district, don't you? Then we need for you to vote for this. We need for you to vote to impeach Ken Paxton. Well, yeah, but is there evidence that Ken has done anything wrong? That's not the point. The point is that you want to represent your district well. And the point is that you want to be effective, don't you? Yeah, I do want to do that, but you want me to vote to impeach this guy, and there's just no evidence to support it. Steve, you're just not listening. Are you on the team or aren't you on the team? Yeah, but I don't want my integrity to take a hit. I don't want my character to take a hit. I don't want to do something that I know is wrong so that I can be effective. Because you're not effective, really. At the end of the day, you're really not effective. You're getting, at the end of the day, you're just going to get their crap done, the speaker's team stuff done. Mm-hmm. But in the process of it, you lose your soul. And it's just a real slow thing. It's just a real slow drip, 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 drip.
Yeah, like I think just in that example that you gave, it's like, yeah, we want you to impeach or get on board with impeachment, which may not be a big deal. You know, it's like, oh, okay, but it's like once you betray your values just the tiniest bit, you've just opened the door.
You sear your conscience. You sear your conscience, and it just the next decision, it's going to be a bigger one, and a bigger one, and a bigger one, and a bigger one. You're like, you don't even recognize yourself anymore.
So how do you combat that, like, and still try and get things done?
My wife. She's my moral compass, and we're one flesh. And I don't know where I'd be without her. So honestly.
So you ran a while ago, right?
Yeah.
When was that?
So I ran in 12, got elected, and I served 13 through 15. And then I left for 4 years, and I came back in 19. And honestly, leaving for 4 years was probably one of the best things that ever happened to me. Because you're like, okay, I'm out of office now. Does my life still have value? Do I still have an identity?
Yeah.
Do I still have a sense of mission and purpose? I do. Wow. So I can go back and I can serve, and I can have mission and purpose, and I can have an identity, and it's not the legislature. It's not being a state rep. It's not someone calling you honorable. It's who I am in Christ and who I am married to Babette.
Mm-hmm. What so for the first time, what made you run the first time, and then what made you want to leave or decide to leave?
So the Texas legislature decided that they were going to regulate my business, and I got so angry about it that I thought, well, I should run against the guy that joint authored the bill that almost put me out of business. And then, you know, a group of people in Kingwood in the Montgomery County Tea Party asked me to run. And I said, I came home one day and I said, I've been asked to run for the legislature. She's like, you can't do that. And I'm like, I know, it's so stupid, right? So 2 weeks later, we're coming home from church and she goes, you know, if we reorganize the business and I take some of the stuff off your plate, I think you could run. And I'm like, were you kidding me? And she said, well, did you pray about it? I'm like, oh man, God, you're working against me here. So we did. We ran against a guy that had been there for 8 or 10 years, and he outspent us 10-1. But we knocked on a lot of doors, and we won 57% to 43%. Right. And so one of the beauties about the way I came in, I did not come in loved and embraced by leadership. They hated me. And that was really good. I'm glad they hated me. I'm glad they didn't make it easy for me in the early days, because it made it easy for me to just say, you're not for me. I know who you are.
Yeah.
I know what your intentions are. You're not a good person, and I don't want to be like you.
And so that was, you said 2 years you were there?
I was there 2 years, and I ran for the Senate and lost, and then came back in 19.
Okay.
So I've been there since 2019.
What made you want to leave? Like when you left, it was just like, hey,
No, so I wanted to run for another office.
I got you.
And I lost.
Okay,
so
so
that
that's
meant,
why.
yeah,
I got you.
I had to give up my seat to do it.
All right. While you were in those 2 years, was it sort of eye-opening, or like trying to figure out how things work there?
Yeah, so we had a huge class, 41 people. 30 of them were just rock-solid conservative guys. This is before there was a Freedom Caucus in Washington, D.C. And so in the Texas legislature, we weren't creative enough to come up with the name Freedom Caucus, so we called ourselves the No Name Group. Pretty creative, right? And we would meet together on Sunday nights. We'd pray together. We'd talk about legislation that we're going to push forward and how we're going to vote. And we moved as a group. And one of the guys said, it was Matt Schaefer, who I told you about a little earlier, as a United States Navy. Matt was really the leader of our group, and he said, shoot, move, and communicate. Shoot, move, and communicate.
Yeah.
Right?
That's right.
And we did it really effectively. But sadly, you saw that group go from 21 to 19 to 18 to 17 to 16 to 15. About the time that I left, it was down to about 8 guys.
Oh. Wow. What happened to the rest?
They got swallowed up by the swamp.
How does that happen?
But here's what's weird. Here's what I meant to tell you. When we came in, we all thought, man, these guys are going to love us. We're rock solid Republicans, man. We're ready to go. We're ready to carry the water. We're ready to do some hard work, heavy lifting for the party. And they hated us. They just hated us. And I can remember once one of the guys, it was Craig Goldman, who's in Congress today. He said they hate us because we remind them of who they used to be when they got here.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes. It's just insane to me that the swamp is that powerful up there that it just swallows up the majority of people that get in there and try and do the right thing. I mean, so what you took that break, what sort of invigorated you to jump back in the arena?
I had a heart for it. A lot of the work that we've gotten done and my staff has gotten done has been to fight against this woke mentality that's going on in our public schools.
Mm-hmm.
And I just, there's a story in the Old Testament, the ruler Moses. He sees an Egyptian beating a Hebrew slave, and Scripture says that he struck him and killed him. Moses right away found out what his holy discontent was, right? I don't know that Scripture says you should have killed that guy, but he found out right away what his holy discontent was, and that this was the path that God had him on. And for me, my holy discontent is what's being done in our public schools to our kids. And that's where we're losing Texas. That's where we're losing America right now.
And yeah, you were describing some of that to me on the drive over here. And honestly, it's I understand that stuff is going on across this country.
Yeah.
But it was really baffling to me that that's happening in the state of Texas. That's being allowed to flourish, the woke agenda in the public schools. And so
Redis County.
Yeah.
Montgomery County. Redis County in Texas. Redis, big county. There's some small rural counties, right? But we're the big red county, 800,000 people almost. And we found out that there was a kid that had been transitioned without mom and dad knowing it for 5 years. Multiple campuses, multiple teachers. And this child was being transitioned without mom and dad even knowing about it. And they finally found out, which, it's just, kids go through a period. I don't want to talk to my parents.
Yeah.
It's not cool to talk to my parents.
Rebel.
What'd you do at school today? Nothing. What's your favorite? Nothing. What do you want to talk? Nothing. It just,
yeah.
It's kind of like they go out of orbit for 4 or 5 years, but usually they come back and, this poor kid did not. And finally came out when they went to college, that they were being transitioned. And the superintendent had to have known about it. There's no way the superintendent did not know about it.
Yeah.
And yet he continually lied to us and just denied that any of this was going on.
The superintendent.
And so we responded by helping to get a new board in there.
That's what you're talking about. You got the 7
women,
Women.
moms, Christian moms to come in, and you need mama bears, baby.
Yeah. That is the truth.
I mean, your wife.
Oh yeah, I'm a product of it right there. That's right. Don't mess with Mama Bear. Yeah, I mean how it's okay, and I guess how was that allowed to happen then? Where was Dan at during this? Because he's been in charge, right, or representing that district. Has he, like, did he address any of this during his time?
No, and that was my frustration. So Senator Creighton did, that you had three key people in that district at the time. You had myself in the Texas House, you had Brandon Creighton in the Texas Senate, and then you had our Congressman, Dan Crenshaw.
Mm-hmm.
This is all front and center. It was all out there for everybody to see. I mean, I don't know how graphic I can be about some of the books that these kids were looking at, but
if it's the truth, you can be.
You had pictures. It's a book called Funhouse, and it was in. I have pictures of it on my phone with the stamp of College Park or the Woodlands High School. It's these different things, and there's a picture of two girls giving each other oral sex, and it's graphic, or pictures of a little boy giving another little boy a blowjob. It's completely graphic.
And these are schools that kids can check
These
out.
are they can check those right out. They can check them right out of the library. Another one, it's called the Trevor Project. It's not called the Trevor Project. It's but it doesn't matter what the name of the book is. But it in the back of the book, it's about this little boy that wants to become a little girl. And in the back of the book is a hyperlink to the Trevor Project. Remember the dude that was in the Biden administration, Sam, whatever his name is, bald hair?
He stole the luggage.
Stole women's luggage.
Yeah.
That guy?
Yeah.
Sam something? I can't remember his name.
Yeah,
But Sam Britton.
one of the many freak shows.
Yeah, total freak shows, right? Well, in the back of the book, there's a hyperlink to this organization called the Trevor Project, and they help kids transition. And you go to the Trevor Project, and then they tell you, move your cursor over to this area. And if mom and dad come in, you click on that, and it right away takes you back to a prior website. So mom and dad won't know that you're doing this. It's actually in our public schools telling kids how to deceive their parents about this thing. I got into it with the superintendent, and he said, "Steve, you don't understand. These kids are suicidal." And I said, "You're making them more suicidal." He goes, "How am I doing that?" I said, "You're telling these kids." I said, "Do you nurture these kids? Do you hug them? Do you tuck them in at night? Do you when they're having a bad day and they're crying, do you comfort them? Do you do any of that?" No, you don't. Mom and dad do that. Mom and dad bear all these burdens, all the pain, and walk through life with their kids. You're telling this kid that mom and dad can't be trusted.
Yeah.
With this huge issue that you're struggling with. 90+% of these kids are clinically depressed. 70+% of them are on the autism spectrum. 70+%. And helping a child like that doesn't include cutting breasts or penises off.
No.
Or putting them on Lupron or cross-sex hormones.
And a lot of them, a majority of them too, are all on SSRIs.
Yes.
Correct.
Yes.
Which
yes.
that right there is another problem.
That's a huge problem.
Kids.
So I got a call from a dad 2 days after. You heard about the young man that took his life on the steps of the San Antonio VA?
I did not.
So on December 4th, a young man took his life on the steps of the VA. And he was sending him a real loud message, obviously, because he did it on the steps of the VA. Mm-hmm. And I got a call 2 days later from a dad. His name is Mark. I'll use his first name. And his son had taken his life on the steps of the VA 6 months earlier. Mm. And it was a cry for help. And we're not helping veterans with SSRIs.
No.
And I've been trying for four sessions to pass legislation that simply says, if a veteran takes their life, that we chronicle what we've got them on. I mean, you know this. These guys are on cocktails of 10, 15,
17 prescriptions. I have
different
friends that are-
prescriptions,
yeah.
right? Has anyone ever done a study to find out how this stuff interacts with one another? And they haven't.
No, and it's. I mean, I can speak from personal experience, just how it works in the military. I mean, they have no issue prescribing you whatever.
Well, so look at the VA's own report. There's 2015. If you Google search right now, Veterans Administration Suicide Report, June 2015. It's a PDF. It will come up through Google as a PDF. You go to page 41 of this report. It will show those that are identified as having post-traumatic stress, clinical depression, and substance use disorder. PTSD, clinical depression, substance use disorder. Those that get treated, those that don't get treated. Those that don't get treated have a 50 to 70% lower suicide rate than those that do get treated. And it goes 2005 through 15, 11 years of data. And it's anywhere between 40 and 80% higher suicide rates when you put them on SSRIs, right? So I've been trying to pass this legislation that we can just learn from what we're doing, right? Why is it such a bad thing? And year after year after year, it gets squashed. The first year I got to actually lay it out, and with only 24 hours notice, 2-3 dozen veterans showed up to testify before Health and Human Services in defense of my legislation. And that night, the committee chair said Fronia Thompson said she was going to vote it out right then and there. Then she's like, no, I think we'll do it tomorrow night. And so I saw her the next morning. I said, we're going to vote my bill out, Mrs. T? She goes, what bill is that, Toth? I said, come on, seriously? Well, we heard a lot of bills last night. It was really late. And I said, the one that all the veterans showed up for.
Yeah.
She goes, no one likes your bill, Toth. I said, what do you mean no one likes my bill? Veterans love my bill. We need this bill. This is important. You love veterans. She goes, yeah, but the lobby didn't let her move it, right? And so the lobby kept it crushed year after year after year. I kept introducing it. And so finally, I found a bill that I could amend to put this thing right on top of it. And there's a guy by the name of Ray Lopez, and he's not coming back, right? He's a retiring Democrat. And so he doesn't have to fear the lobby because he's not coming back, right? So he let me put my bill on top of his, fit perfectly, passed out of the House 145 votes, nothing. And it died.
How does it die?
It just dies in between the House and the Senate.
And that's because of the
lobby. It's
money.
Big Pharma.
Yeah,
It's Big
Big
Pharma.
Pharma.
All we want to know is how these drugs interact. We're killing these guys. We're clearly, the data's not squishy on this. It's clear. We're killing veterans.
Out of all the lobbyists in Washington, is pharmaceuticals the biggest?
Big Pharma. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, they run everything.
They run everything.
Yeah.
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 And it's so funny because here's the weird thing. There's been such a seismic shift. So 20 years ago it was big tobacco. Remember?
Yeah.
Big tobacco, right? And the Democrats are all like, go after big tobacco. Now they're all like in bed with Big Pharma. Oh, you don't believe in the science?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Like I can watch with my own eyes what it's doing to all my friends that are on it or the ones that aren't.
No, I didn't do a double-blind study, but it's empirical what's going on. It's not anecdotal.
Yeah. Dude, it's crazy. I mean, just when I got out, I went and checked into the VA here right away. And just to because you have to check in somewhere. So I was in Panama City. And I met with this lady, and we sat down, and she pulled my record out and started looking through it. And I didn't go in there complaining about anything. I was just like, I'm coming to check in. And she was like, holy cow. She starts going through my record. And she's like, we haven't seen anything like this. And I'm like, well, that's pretty normal, coming from the career field that I came from.
Yeah.
And she's like, well, all right. She leaves. 5 minutes later, she comes back. She's like, we're going to go ahead and put you on SSRIs, anti-anxiety, anti-this. And I was like,
why?
And I said, I don't want any of that. And I did because I think on them there I marked yes,
right.
I have anxiety. I have certain things, from my job that I'm fresh out. So yes, I'm dealing with these things, transition and everything else. And she's like, well, yeah, here. And she's like, right away, 4 different medications. And I'm like, I don't want to take any of those. And she's like, well, what are you going to do with your, issues that you marked down having? And I was like, I'll figure it out. And she's like, well, what are you going to do? Because I was in pain. She's like, well, they want to get me on painkillers. And I was like, I don't want any pharmaceuticals. And that's just while I was in. I did take some painkillers, and I knew I was like, I have an issue with this, and I was like, I don't want to be on it. And she's like, well, what are you going to do for it? And I was like, I'll figure something out. I was like, if anything, I was like, I'll go smoke some marijuana or something to, alleviate whatever. And she's like, well, if you do that, we can't give you anything. And I was like, what? Then problem solved, right? So I left. For the next month, I got a call from the VA every other day. We'll just mail you the medications.
Oh my gosh. Drug pushers.
Yes. And I was like, that opened my eyes. I was like, this is insane. They're literally peddling pharmaceuticals to me, trying to get me on it, because what they want is a customer for life.
Yeah.
Once you're on that, now you're on the teat. And you getting off the teat means death. Because once you get on those SSRIs, that is one of the most dangerous medications to get off of and become clean. You can die doing that. So most guys, and the problem, and like we talked about earlier, it starts off with 3 or 4 medications until those things start having contraindications. Oh, so now take this one to combat that, then take this one. And before you know it, I have friends that are on 16 different prescription drugs.
Bill Chatfield, Colonel Bill Chatfield, Marine Colonel, he used to travel with Rick Perry, Governor Perry, and he was one of the very first ones that I showed this VA report to, which is crazy. I'm a civilian, and yet none of the military leadership know about this report, but it's out there for anyone to see. And I showed him that, and he said, "SEER." And I said, "What do you mean?" He said, Marines are taught survive, evade, resist, escape. They go to SEER school.
Yep.
And they're taught to survive, evade, resist, escape until it becomes part of the limbic system of the brain. It's a learned muscle. And he said they come back and they lose their sense of mission, purpose, unit cohesion, and a job as soon as they come back home. And they experience a little bit of depression. They go to the VA, and the VA puts them on an SSRI, and it separates the limbic system of the brain from reality. And it's then that Bill said, then that they take their lives. And it just makes so much sense. And yet,
nobody's doing anything.
No one's doing anything to stop
or look for other avenues. I do know in Texas Abbott is on the forefront of trying to push the whole psychedelic. Ibogaine, yeah, which I did Ibogaine. I'm friends with Marcus and Amber who run vets. And I'm an advocate for it in a way that I think it does help. I think it pushes you in the right direction, but I also know that it's not the end all be all, as it's, I think, being marketed right now as this is the game changer. At the end of the day, and I've talked about this, it's what gets me through all my struggles is my faith. When I took that drug, I got on my hands and knees and went outside because they do this whole ritual thing.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't want any part of this. I walked out, got on my hands and knees, and I was like, I'm taking this, God. I was like, so show me whatever I need to be shown. I'm like, I hope, I'm doing the right thing. And it did. It showed me everything I needed to see. It put me, and really what it showed me is you are loved. It's your family loves you, because I had this very, you talked about, you separate from the service and you lose your identity, you lose your self-worth, and then you start having these, depression and I'm just a burden. You don't feel like a man anymore. And that's really what it showed me. It's yes, you're fine. Your family loves you. Everything is good. So
Jesus tells a metaphor in the New Testament, and he said, what person, when he throws a criminal out of his house, and he's making it's a metaphor of the brain, of the mind, spiritually the mind. And he said, what person, when you remove a bad person, an evil person, from the room, won't they come back with 20 more? And I kind of look at Ibogaine as it cleans the room out, but you got to replace it with something.
Yes, sure. That's
you have to replace it once you've hit the reset button, which I've heard them over and over again. It's like a reset button. Okay, well, that's cool. but you got to replace it with something
Yes.
to sustain you. And that's what a relationship with Jesus Christ is. And that's what we have found over the years through Mighty Oaks. It's just, there's been nothing like it.
Yeah. There, and I know, like, yeah, you're on the board.
I retired.
Okay, you retired.
Yeah, 18 years.
Well, Mighty Oaks is a vet organization, a nonprofit.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
And they help guys transition out of military.
Yeah, we do. Yeah. So we have these intense 5-day programs, and we've had probably 8,000 guys go through the program with, typical guy was like, right, clinical depression, substance use disorder, PTSD. And the fourth one that the VA will never identify them, but a lot of these guys have huge addictions to pornography.
Oh, yeah.
And if you look at the way cocaine lights up the brain, you're self-medicating, right? If you're on SSRIs and you're on something like cocaine or pornography, because it does the same thing.
Dopamine hit.
It's you're self-medicating, you're mixing drugs. Yeah. And it's a deadly cocktail. But what we do at Mighty Oaks is we help guys identify what real manhood, biblical manhood looks like, and what their responsibility is to their family, and to assume that role again. Mm-hmm. That's where you find a sense of mission, purpose, and
that's the truth.
Calling. Right?
Yeah. I went to similar. Have you ever heard of Operation Restored Warrior?
Yeah.
Okay, so I went and did that. Actually, I did that after my Ibogaine treatment.
Great.
And it was the same experience, really, except without any drugs, which I thought was phenomenal.
Yeah, we've lost.
Jimmy, what to?
Yes.
You talked about it. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's amazing. It's just the results speak for themselves. So I think it was 2000. Oh man, it was like 2013. It was 2015. We're having our gala, and we're at a big 8-10 people round top table, and across the table from me is this Master Sergeant Marine, and Chris was the prototypical Master Sergeant, bald head, just muscles on top of muscles. You didn't know that there could be muscles where there are muscles. And I said, Marine, what's your story? And he said, this time 2 years ago, I was headed towards a divorce. I was headed towards suicide. I was headed towards getting kicked out of the Corps. And my CO said, Chris, you're going through Mighty Oaks or you're out. And he said, I fought it. I finally went, gave my heart to Christ on the first Wednesday night, and I got everything back. And the wild thing is that Chris died, I think, about a year later in a motorcycle accident. But his family was intact. His family had been fixed, right? And God restored his family. Even though Chris is gone, God restored his family.
Yeah. He left it with a solid foundation.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that is, I try and tell guys, I'm like, that is the only way, is through Christ, through faith. And I find it, the more, as I get further along on my journey with my relationship with Christ and trying to bring others into it, and I want to ride that line of like either, being a Bible thumper and like trying to shove it down someone's throat. I want to it's like lead by example and be like, dude, if I'm doing okay, it has to work because all the trials and tribulations that we went through. But what I think it's like this, it's a battle of good and evil. It's a spiritual battle because I find so many guys are so reluctant to even like delve into it. They're like, oh, they'll find every excuse. Oh, well, I'll just go do this instead, or I'll go do this instead of like, dude, just crack this open. And I tell guys, I'm like, you don't have to like even know what you're reading. I was like, just give him 10 minutes a day.
Part of it?
Give him 10 minutes and read a passage, and that's it for your day. And then do that the next day, and do that the next day. And I actually had a buddy who was reluctant, and he was like, all right, I'll do that. I was like, dude, just read one passage. Like, it takes you 2 minutes. And it's like, you don't even have to sit there and do a study on it. Just read it, shut it, and then do that every morning. I was like, I want you to do that. You do that for a month. And he's like, yes. And I asked him, I called him at the end of the month. I'm like, did you do it? And he's like, yeah. And I was like, how's it been going? And he was like, honestly, my life's been changing for the better.
Isn't that cool?
I was like, now read it more. and it'll continue to change more. I'm like, that's how
Go
it
deeper.
works. I mean,
Yeah.
and I was like, I'm not some kind of like theologian or what. I can't sit here and, I have friends that are like Jared Hudson, who's running for Senate in Alabama. I'm like, that guy is a preacher. He can sit there and read scripture, boom, boom, boom. I'm like, I don't have that, but I was like, I can just tell you from my experience what it does, and then just try and show you that way. But yeah, I'm glad that's like definitely your staple of how you get through this, and I think you need it going into delving back into what you're going into more than ever. As far as the elections are next year.
Yep.
All right. When
March
do they start?
March 3rd
Start March.
is the primary.
Okay.
Yep.
Who besides you? Who else is running against it?
There are 3 or 4 other guys, real nice people that are running as well, but they've not raised any money, so it's really difficult to break through if you haven't raised any money and you haven't. So yeah, we've
Congress.
Congress. We've done really well. It's crazy because you have reporting periods: first, second, third, fourth quarter, right? So in the third quarter, it's July, August, and September. We didn't announce till July 15th. We wanted to announce July 7th or 8th, but Kerrville happened. We just felt like, man, it'd be totally inappropriate right after the Kerrville flooding. All those precious children lost their lives.
Yeah.
So we pushed off a week. So now we're looking at 2.5 months of that quarter. And then Governor Abbott called us into a special session to, reapportion the maps and do redistricting. So we're literally in Austin for 2 months, 2 months out of 2.5 months. And so only at 2 weeks, but this is by God's grace, we raised over $300,000
Nice.
for the campaign. And we've raised another $100,000 this quarter, and we've got a super PAC. I don't know how it's doing. I'm not allowed to be connected to it, and I'm not. But we're doing really, really well. Polling looks good. We're excited.
Yeah. How's it looking? So this is what boggles my mind too, because I think, especially now, maybe like 3 or 4 years ago, Dan's name, you'd bring it up and they'd be like, oh yeah, like people would be advocating for him or whatever. But nowadays, I'm like, I don't see any individuals that support Dan, and that's including coming from my own community.
Yeah.
Which he uses as another shield. Like,
Why is that? I mean, not why does he use it as a shield, but why has he lost their support?
By his actions, I think guys have figured out over time, like just like I think you have and a majority of people have, like this guy's not, he says one thing and does another, and he doesn't support the guys from our community. And I'll give you one example. When I put that video out on him, I got multiple calls, which I was surprised, or DMs, Gold Star families that Dan has screwed over.
Gold Star family?
Gold Star families. When Dan shows up to events or to support certain events, he's drunk. He acts like it's not, they're lucky to have him there and that he should be treated in a certain manner, which from our community, he's not, like I talked about before, he's not looked at as some like hero or like, oh my goodness, this guy's done so much. He's looked at as, okay, dude, you're a SEAL, you're in Congress, which I think from the SEAL community in the beginning was like, great, we have one of our own in Congress, that's going to be good for us, in some form or fashion. He has not helped out anybody. And then when COVID happened, I know there was a large majority of guys that even guys Dan had served with that came to him like, hey, because they were kicking guys out for not taking the vaccine. And he's like, they were asking him for help, like, hey, we're not going to take the vaccine. Can you help us? And his own words were, just take the jab and shut up.
Take the jab and shut up.
Yes. And that right there spread to the community. Like, okay, this guy doesn't have our best interests at heart.
He voted in the omnibus to support the removal of active duty guys that refused to take it.
So he voted for like kick guys out.
Yeah.
See, and it's like decisions like that where guys are like, what are you? How are you representing? If anything, how are you representing the veteran
And here's the
community?
thing that's really weird is that I'm in the legislature. Trump is in office, first term. They do this warp speed thing. Love Trump, but I'm not into this warp speed thing. You know, I want to see some clinical trials that are out several years before you jab something, put something inside of me. And so actually, my wife was the one that really, she was the one that was really doing all the research on it, that kept feeding me. And I'm like, man, this is dangerous. This does not look good. And so the Democrats were like, we're not taking the orange man's shot, clutch. We're not taking the orange man's shot. He must be making money off of it. And they're making all these stupid, silly accusations against Trump. And we're not taking that. And then all of a sudden, 2 months later, Joe Biden's in office. And now we're literally on a phone call.
Oh, now it's good.
Yeah, now it's good. Now it's good. We're on a phone call with the governor and the entire House, Democrat and Republican bipartisan phone call. There may be 80 people that called in. And the Democrats were all like, well, you know, the Republicans are all anti-vaxxers and we got to, you know, what are we going to do to overcome that, governor? And it was just the stupidest thing. And like 2 months ago, you guys were the ones that were panning this thing, talking about how bad it was. Now all of a sudden, it's so ridiculous. It's so ridiculous. Science has nothing to do with this.
No, it's bad orange man. Anything he says, we're doing the opposite.
Right.
And then they could do the exact same thing, and then they're like, "Yep, there you go." It's not hard to see. It's like I don't understand how people don't see it that way.
Yeah. I just wish Trump would say that oxygen's a good thing.
There you go. People would put the mask back on for sure.
Hey, what's up, guys? So when I'm not doing the podcast, I'm doing a lot of traveling. I put on training all over the country for LE and civilians. I also travel a lot for my nonprofit, the Pipe Hitter Foundation. And as you guys know, travel, going back and forth can wear you down. But this past year, I have found the antidote. So let me put you on to Aquavita, Destin's premier IV therapy and oxygen bar. This place is owned and operated by a board-certified ER physician with over 23 years of experience, so you know your health is in good hands. Every IV drip is mixed to Board of Pharmacy standards and backed by CDC-level infection control. Whether you're dealing with a fatigue, a hangover, jet lag, stress, immunity issues, or even PMS, they've got custom vitamin drips and boosters tailored just for that. When you go inside, the place is pretty awesome. It puts you at ease right when you go in there. They have comfy lounge chairs, which are perfect for singles or couples, full group sessions. And you can even book the whole space for bachelor or bachelorette parties, race day recovery, or wellness events. While you're in there, they go the extra mile too. They'll give you blankets, sleep masks, earplugs, aromatherapy oxygen, all complimentary. And the best part, every visit includes direct care from the physician and experienced RNs, all focused on fast, safe, and affordable wellness. So if you're in the Destin area, hit up Aquavita. Your body will definitely thank you.
Yeah, I mean, Dan has no real support from our community anymore. I mean, he did that to himself. And I think I think you brought up, you watched the recent Sean Ryan show where, I mean, Dan called Sean and threatened him and was like, my friends at Team 6 will come get you. And it's like, there's two stupid things about that statement. It's one, you're not calling anybody at Team 6 to go beat up Sean Ryan. And guys aren't going to go, even if you have friends there, they're going to be like, dude, fight your own battles. And that's the other thing. It's like, why don't you do it yourself, Dan? Like, and that's where it's, I think guys have really, they're disappointed in him. And also, he just puts a stain not only on our SEAL community, but on veterans as a whole. It's because I think people do have this belief in veterans, like we talked about earlier, and they expect a lot out of them. They're like, dude, you're a veteran. That means you follow by these X, Y, and Z values, which is why we want you in office. But when you get in there and you're doing the exact opposite of that, it just sheds a bad light across veterans across the board. Especially guys that are running for office,
right?
Because then they're looked at like, well, you're just going to be another Dan Crenshaw. And Dan's not the only veteran that's in there not doing great things. But we're talking about today because that's who you're running against. But yeah, I mean, his support has dwindled, and he does himself no favors. He can't. His ego's too big. He will not allow himself to say, yes, I made a mistake. I think that would go so far for him if he would just be like, you know what, I screwed up, and I'm going to try and fix it or do better. But he's so self-involved and just thinks that he's got a very, and this is another thing I think, he's got this very elitist attitude, right? That's not because he's in Congress. That elitist attitude is taught to officers, and I've seen it across the board, that when they put something out, it cannot be questioned. How dare you question what I put out? And then if you do have any questions or say anything, they will talk to you in such a manner where it's so condescending, and they're like, you just don't understand the big picture, and you don't understand why we're doing these things. And I see it in Dan. Anytime he gets questioned, he has this very, well, you just don't get it. You're too dumb to understand why I make these decisions. And it's this elitist, condescending attitude. And people can't, I mean, you can't have that kind of attitude for this long. People are going to get tired of it. It's like, we want somebody authentic, somebody real, somebody that's like, hey, yes, I'm not a perfect human being, but these are my values. This is what I strive to be. And he just does not represent that at all, one bit. And then I think the big thing is the insider trading. It's, I don't know if you've looked at his financials, but it's pretty obvious that the guy has been doing, the insider trading. And I mean, if you look at, he's hiring Steve Aoki for his birthday, and we looked that up, and that's about $60,000 for a DJ to come to your party. And then he had the funny thing was the Liver King of all people come out with this whole content day with Dan for his birthday, and I was like, that couldn't be any more perfect. A fraud and another fraud hanging out with each other. But all that, I'm just bringing those examples up because those aren't cheap to hire those people to come out, and it's like that's what he's spending his investment money on. So I think guys have seen that now, and they're like, they want him out because they just don't want him representing the community in office at all.
Yeah.
And you have guys really good guys like Eli Crane. Have you had any conversations?
I haven't. No.
He's a phenomenal guy. You want to talk about one guy that's actually in there doing the right thing? It's him.
I'd love to meet him.
Yeah. So when it comes to running against him, because obviously Dan says all the right things.
Right.
He can, I'm sure when he's running, he's gonna stick to the same script and be like, this is what I'm about. How are you going to combat that? Because I'm sure you're running on the same platform.
Yeah, so we're going to stick more to issues, basic issues like in January 2024, he came into the district and he did a town hall for all the elected officials in our area. And Senator Creighton and myself asked about this bipartisan border deal that the Democrats and Republicans had come together to put together, that they wanted to push through. And it allowed 5,000 people into the country a day, and you couldn't come in. And it's funny because they're saying, "Oh, it's encounters." Well, I don't care what you want to call it. If it includes coming into the nation and it stops at 5,000 people, no more than 5,000 people, then the reality is that whether you want to call it an encounter or whatever the crap you want to call it, it doesn't matter. You're allowing 5,000 people into the country a day. And we said, stop it. And he said, look we need this legislation. We're like, no, you don't need the legislation. Trump closed the border. And he said, you guys should be grateful. He said this to me and Senator Creighton. You should be grateful that we're doing this because it's going to bring down the number of people coming into the country considerably. We're like, close the border. Close the border. And so here's what's funny, though, is that Biden said that he needed this legislation to close the border or to drop it down to 5,000. Yet this bill gets killed, and 3 months later, Biden does an executive order to bring it from 5,000 to 3,500. And but the proof in this is that they never followed that.
Yeah.
people flooded across the border. It's not like a concert where there's a guy with a tick clicker thing, it's just the stupidest thing. No one was going to follow any kind of metric about numbers. Close the border.
Yeah, it was just a political stunt to be like, oh, see,
Look what we did.
Dwindling down the numbers a bit. I mean, would you say that is probably the number one issue in Texas?
It's the number one issue in Texas, and I'll tell you why. Is the drivers of the Texas budget, it's education, incarceration, medication, and transportation. And three of those things, incarceration, education, and healthcare, are bankrupting Texas. So Medicaid 40, 50 years ago was like 4% of the budget. Now it's like a third.
Because of all the illegals that have come over.
Yeah.
What, from 4% of the budget to a third?
Over a third. In fact, you look at Medicaid births, women coming across the border to have a baby, it's north of 50%. Sometimes, sometimes as low as 45%, but it's north of 50% usually every given year. And who pays for that? We do.
Taxpayers. Yeah, I mean, that's a 10x.
So that's been like the top issue in Texas for a while now.
Yeah.
I mean,
we want to give people property tax relief, but when you're spending so much money keeping the border closed because the feds won't, and frankly, in the absence of the feds closing the border, then, gosh, support us. Be an advocate for us. Be an activist for us in Washington, D.C. And instead of teaming up with the Democrats, fight them.
Yeah.
Fight them. We sent you there to fight them on this issue. Because, are there some issues where you can work with the Democrats? I don't know, I guess, maybe. But when it comes to this issue, no, because they want that border open. They want that border open. Mm-hmm. Close it. Fight for us. That's what you're there for. Fight for us.
Yeah.
Good question, though. Like, they want the border open for boats.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
That's,
I mean,
that's
absolutely.
the primary reason.
Absolutely. It's they are reimagining the nation.
Yeah. So as a Republican congressman, if you know that, like, they're keeping this border open to benefit them in the future for votes, then why would you even, like, try and get along? Like, okay, we'll just keep it at third. Like, it's obvious this is a ploy to make it like you said, they have this whole vision for a whole
but and in that bill too was to send billions of dollars more to Ukraine.
There it is. Okay.
Right.
Which I know Dan's a big advocate on that.
We're bankrupt. We are absolutely bankrupting our children's futures. And so I was born in 1960, and my dad, 15 years earlier, before I was born, he was in Tokyo Harbor on a merchant marine ship when Douglas MacArthur was signing the surrender of Japan. Mm-hmm. And his generation, the greatest generation, they defeated communism. They defeated the Nazis. They defeated the Germans. They defeated, they won the war in the Pacific, right? And then they rebuilt through the Marshall Plan. They rebuilt Europe and Asia. And they left us with no debt. Mm-hmm. What have we done? What have the baby boomers done other than run a massive amounts of debt?
Yeah.
That you guys and your kids and grandkids are going to get left with. And it's sick because our kids that we're raising today are like, well, there have always been deficits. Dad, it's not a big deal. The government's always been printing money, Dad. It's not a big deal.
And that's what, I mean, and I get their train of thought on that because it just seems to me like we're always, getting reported. We're now in billions or trillions of dollars of debt. But then I'm like, well, is this money just made up? Like,
yeah, it's monopoly money.
Yeah. It's like, so what I think the kids nowadays are like, well, what does it matter?
We're in uncharted territory now because what's going on is that nations are, it's not just the United States anymore, right? Every nation's doing this. Every nation is printing monopoly money. And so no one really knows how this is going to shake out other than the fact that at some point it's going to be bad.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. It's just when is that point?
Right.
Who's going to be holding the bag at the end?
Right. Yeah. And so we've got to send people to D.C. that are pragmatic, that are honest, that acknowledge we can't continue to fund forever wars.
Yeah.
That our kids can't afford it, our grandkids can't afford it. We can't do this anymore. We cannot do this anymore.
Yeah. What is your thoughts on like AIPAC and the Israel? Because I know that's a huge hot topic.
Israel, if they're doing something that's wrong, I don't have a problem with criticizing Israel. Israel's that said, I do believe that they're the one partner that we have in the Middle East. I think it's very clear that they're the one partner that we have in the Middle East.
Yeah.
And I think that the Sunnis and the Shia Islamists have made it really clear, whether you believe in the six hadiths of Sunni Islam or the 4 hadiths of Shia Islam, they want the 12th Imam to come back. And the only way the 12th Imam comes back is the destruction of Israel and the destruction of the United States. They are an existential threat. We saw it on 9/11. We've seen it over and over and over again, that they are an existential threat to the United States.
Yep.
Not Putin. They are an existential threat to the United States. We saw this during, I think it was when Obama was in office. You saw Egypt trying to get the nuclear bomb. Why? Well, anytime they sense that Israel's not being supported, this is the Sunnis, Sunni nations. Anytime they feel like Israel's not being supported by the West, they get nervous because it destabilizes the Middle East. And it's then that they look for the bomb.
Yeah.
They trust the Jews with it. The Sunnis trust the Jews with it. They do not trust the Shia with it. Not for a second. Because they know that the Shiites know, the Sunnis know the Shia Persians will use it against them at the end of the day. We don't need a destabilized Middle East. I support what Trump has done wholeheartedly. But at the end of the day, I think you've got to have a pragmatic attitude towards Israel that says, look, if they're doing something wrong, then let's hold them accountable.
Yeah. I mean, I think, and that's where it's like such a delicate situation. I mean, and that, like you said, Israel is our only ally in the Middle East.
Right.
Have been forever. And it's biblical as well. But when it comes to, this conflict between Israel and Palestine and America getting involved and starting to be like trying to act like the referee, that just from my own experience, taking part of the past 20 years from the beginning to the end of the GWAT, I'm like, we are in no position to sit here and referee another country and tell them how to conduct war.
No.
I'm like, and this is my own, I was actually explaining this to my son last night because I was in this room hanging out with him and he made a statement about, I think he's high school, and he's like, oh, it's because, the Jews in Israel. And he started like saying this, and I'm like, okay, expand on that. I was like, why are you thinking that? And of course, I already know why. It's because whatever clicks he's getting fed on Instagram or whatever. But he, to me, I'm like, we have no right to sit there and step in. I explained to my son, I'm like, war is an ugly thing. I'm like, there's nothing pretty about it. There's nothing black and white about it either. I'm like, as Americans, we're always trying to make this, well, this is a bad guy, this is a good guy, and that's how it is. I'm like, there's so much in between there, and I'm like, and the reality is civilians get killed. I'm like, you're not going to have a war without civilians getting killed. And the true reality is, if you want to win a war, if you start one and you're in it, you have to kill everybody on the other side.
Yeah.
And that's a dark thought. But I'm like, and that's why I don't ever want war. I'm like, I don't think it should, we should be in it. But if it's two other countries going at it, I'm like, hey, we'll see who wins. I'm like, because the only way to win is you literally have to decimate the other side, because all you're doing if you don't do that is you're creating more enemies that are going to come back at you later on. And that is a harsh reality. And I don't think America has the stomach for it. We never have. And I think that is what separates us a lot of the times.
Yeah.
But it's also what makes us weak, why we don't win either. Is because the second we start winning, it's always, pull the reins back. We're doing too much. And then you have to give the other side a chance.
Golda Meir was the prime minister of Israel in the 60s. Very pragmatic, tough woman. And she said, I can forgive the Arabs for killing Israeli children. What I can't forgive the Arabs for is us making kill their children. As in, rules of engagement, right?
Yeah.
They're going to fight from behind women and children.
Oh, yeah.
The Jews didn't do that. They don't do that. We don't do that. We're different.
Yeah.
And I think one thing about the global conflict that we have to consider with Israel is that God's not going to be outdone in this. He always shows himself. During the Yom Kippur War, as an example, right? That was a miracle that Israel wasn't wiped off the face of the earth during the Yom Kippur War. And in any of the conflicts they've had, they've always been outnumbered 100 to 1. Did they need the U.S. in that?
No.
No, they didn't. They really didn't. And God always shows himself to be great in taking care of Israel. I don't think America needs to think about having to be the savior of Israel. They don't.
Yeah, and that's where I'm at too. I'm like, I think they're going to be fine.
Yeah.
Yeah. What do you think your biggest challenge is running against Dan?
Right now, it's raising money.
Yeah.
So we've got enough to put on a good campaign. We want to put on a great campaign, and we need to raise a couple $100,000 more. So between now and December 31st, and so yeah.
Where can people donate if they want to?
Steve Toth, forcongress.com, or if you're feeling lazy, you can just do stevetoth.com.
Okay.
Yeah.
So do you see that as your biggest hurdle to climb? Because of all the lobbyist money Dan has.
He's going to have a ton of lobby money. And what's crazy, though, is that his big donor base and donor network is gone. It's completely dried up in Texas.
I mean, Dan's obviously going to be running on the same platform. But do you think, like, over the years, like, his support has, even in your district that you're running on, I mean, does he have a lot of support there?
His first time in office, first time he ran for re-election, he won overwhelmingly. And then this past year in 2024, he ran against a real nice young guy who spent, I think he raised $40,000. Mm-hmm. I don't know that he spent it all necessarily advertising. The only thing he spent on advertising, I think, was lawn signs and big 4x8s, right? So he didn't do any radio, didn't do any television, didn't do any digital, didn't do any TV, didn't do anything, really. Dan spent $1.7 million, and this guy still got 41.5%.
Yeah, still a close.
Yeah, and so he's in trouble. Someone that puts themselves up for re-election against someone that doesn't put a campaign on should have 66, 68%.
Yeah,
of the vote. He only had 58.5%. So he's in trouble. The polling shows that he's in trouble. He released polling just 3 weeks ago that shows him at 57%. 47%. His poll showed him at 47%, and that's with 98% name ID. Now, it showed me at 30, but we haven't even started our campaign yet. We haven't spent a single penny identifying who I am, but his hard top number is 47% with 98% name ID.
Mm-hmm.
That you can't win when your unfavorables are as high as his are.
Do you think he knows he probably is not going to win?
I don't, I can't get inside his head. I can't get inside his head. I think it's a pretty crowded place.
Yeah, I would say so. I mean, yeah, he's got issues for sure. I think that's another thing I've seen. And that's why over the years, like, even when I put that video out, I was like, I'm not going to sit here and attack him personally, because I do think he's still dealing with issues from his injury. I don't think he's ever processed, what happened to him. I think when he got out, he was thrust into, hey, you should run for Congress, or whether it's his decision or he was rushed into it. And I don't think there was a lot of time in between, and I think he went full speed ahead on the congressional run. And since he's been in office, I just don't think that he has taken the time to actually process and unclutter everything that's in his head, which then, because he hasn't done that, that affects his decision making.
Yeah.
That affects every little decision that he does. You can see that he's thin-skinned. Like if you say anything about him, he will come back, 10 times hard and try to like either belittle you or
That's the goofiest thing. So
you would think as a Navy SEAL you'd have you'd have a more professional stature and have thicker skin.
that's the goofiest thing. So he went to a meeting, Tea Party meeting in the Woodlands like 3-4 years ago, and this young woman asked him, she had seen his podcast where it said Americans need hero archetypes. Did you hear about this?
This is where he compared Jesus to a archetype.
Yeah, and what he said,
Like fictional.
we have Spider-Man is a hero archetype, Superman, Jesus is a hero archetype, and then he said real ones too, like Rosa Parks and Abraham Lincoln. And so she just said, how do I can't get my arms around the fact that you refer to Jesus as a fictional figure. How help me understand that? And he goes, yeah, I'll help you understand it. Put a period after Jesus and don't question my faith.
Yes, I've heard that.
And it's like, why? I mean, young little girl,
Yeah.
you're an adult man. You've been in front of people before.
You think you know how to act or
Well,
respond to that
and ask
question.
my wife if I've ever said anything silly or stupid in front of. Have I, sweetie? And she's, and she,
Perfect.
no, and she's like, well, I don't think I would have done it that way, and but so why couldn't you just said, yeah, that probably wasn't the most artful way of saying that. You're right,
Yeah.
and then boom, it just gets blown over. But the need to attack people is just really weird.
And I've heard him on interviews where that's been brought up, like, hey, you responded in this way, and he still defends it to this day, like not saying, hey, I probably reacted in a way I shouldn't have to that young woman. I could have used a different tone. This is what I meant. But he will sit there and and that's what I mean. His ego's too big, and he cannot admit it's that elitist attitude. It's almost like ingrained into them, like you cannot admit any fault. That is, if you do, then you're done. And it's like, no, that's the opposite. If you do admit fault and show that you are actually not a perfect human being, but you're willing to take accountability for some of your mistakes that you've made, I think you'd gain favor and be like, oh, this guy's just like us, but he doesn't have that in him. I think also, that's just one of the examples of him. But for me, I mean, and I think who was I talking to about this? I think we talked about at the beginning of the podcast is I don't like, if you're running for office, I don't care what title you have before that. I don't care if you were in the military. I don't care if you ran some huge organization or you're CEO of this. I'm like, who are you as an individual? Like, what is your character like? And, I used to say it in the teams too, is like, if you want to know what someone's doing at home and whether or not at work, because everybody at work is fine. Everyone's like, hey, I'm here to do the job. Ask the wife. You bring them in and be like, how is he doing at home? And I'm not saying to do that to dig up dirt. It's just like, how is he doing mentally? Is he okay? And you'll get the truth about what's going on. And that's when I look at his life behind the scenes, which, I mean, to me, I'm like, dude, I try not to be judgmental. But I know when I was in and I ran my own platoon, I gave this speech to all of them. I was like, I know what goes on. I've been in the teams long enough. And we go on trips. I know some of you are married. I'm like, if you decide to be unfaithful to your wife on these trips, that's on you. You're an adult and you make those adult decisions. But from my perspective, when you get married to your spouse, that's a covenant. I'm like, that is a oath that you will not break for the rest of your life, that you are forging that with that other person under God. Now, if you can't keep it in your pants on trips and you break that oath, how am I going to expect you to take a bullet from me downrange? Because that's an oath also that we are taking with each other. I'm going to die for you. I have no questions asked. I will do whatever it takes to keep you alive, bring you home. But if you can't keep an oath to woman that you have at your house, how do I know you're going to keep that with me? Because that's a strong covenant that you make, right? And so Dan, I mean, being open, he's been like, yeah, he has mistresses, and I just am like, dude, for his poor wife, and I don't know anything about what they have, the inner workings, but I do know, like, she was with him when he was injured. I know that couldn't have been easy to get him back online and to even get him back online to run for Congress. I know she had to have something to do with that and had to deal with the repercussions or whatever. And then for him to just blow her off and go, doing whatever he does up there, it just, to me, I'm like, and I try not, like I said, I try to be judgmental, but that is, to me, I'm like, dude, that's a huge character flaw.
My staff is tired of me hearing me say this. I'll put my pastor's cap on a second, just say, Romans 1, it says you have an inherent knowledge of God. Romans 2 says you have an inherent knowledge of right and wrong, because around the 10th or 11th verse, it says he's written his laws in your heart. Then around the 16th verse, it says that you violate your conscience when you go against that law that he's written in your heart. Like, fidelity is part of God's moral compass that he puts inside of us. And when we violate that moral law, we violate our conscience. And you can't, like you say, it's difficult to forge a trust with anybody that is unfaithful to anything, anything, right? Because they know they're doing something wrong. So
yeah. Well, I mean, I think, I don't know, going into this election, I think your chances are huge, especially, I mean, he's done himself no favors over the years. I think he keeps digging himself in a bigger hole. But like you said, the biggest hurdle is the money.
Right.
What if people can't donate money or give for money? What's something else they could do? Go in and sign up on your socials.
Yeah. So I mean, that's cool too. And we have block walking that we do on Saturdays, which are a lot of fun, and Sundays and throughout the week. And it's so funny. So we try and walk as much as possible. And someone was in Washington, D.C. and said, hey, Dan, Steve Toth's out there. Steve Toth, he didn't pronounce his name correctly, but it's all right. Steve Toth's out there knocking on doors, Dan. What do you have to say about Dan? And Dan goes, well, it's because he doesn't have a job. He actually said, I don't have a job. Actually, I've got a small business with 12 employees, and
Yeah.
it's just, oh man, he's the gift that keeps on giving.
Yeah, and that's what I mean. That's why I'm like, your chances are just becoming greater and greater, because he cannot keep his foot out of his mouth, and just with the way he acts. I mean, even the whole "I'm going to kill Tucker Carlson" or whatever. I mean, that again, it's like, dude, this guy's saying this to reporters, and then tries to backtrack again, like, and it's like, dude, no, you said it. Like,
You're funny.
yeah. Is there anything else you want to go over?
It was fun.
Oh, I'm super glad you guys decided to fly in for this.
So I've got to get, before I go though, I want you to sign your book.
Oh, for sure. It'd be an honor to.
We're so grateful for you as a couple, and I know how high the divorce rate is among Special Forces guys, and to be able to point to a couple that isn't just married but is thriving is such an encouraging thing.
I appreciate that. Thank you so much. And go ahead and say everything goes to my wife on that one. She's the hero of my book. If I was her, I would have got rid of me a long time ago. Oh yeah, and then as a guest on here, we give our guests. Have you heard of Firecracker Farms at all?
Yeah.
So this is a company. Alex, our buddy, who I met through a training.
It's awesome.
He super creative guy. Actually, I look at nails. He made this. It's like a hot salt. So there's different flavors, and it's depending on how spicy you like it. There's mild all the way to very hot. But this, I mean, especially if you're into flavors and all that. I mean, it's cool. I put it on everything now.
Yeah.
It's phenomenal.
Oh, cool.
What kind is it?
What flavor is that? That's
3 Kings.
yeah, 3 Kings. So that one's about medium.
It's a rub.
It's no. So in here, this is pretty awesome. So I think it's just one of these salt shakers.
Love this packaging.
Oh man, the guy's
like Apple
so
type
phenomenal.
packaging.
Oh my gosh, how cool.
Yeah. So it's right here. You got 2 of these.
Oh, way cool.
Sprinkle that on your food. I mean, I know people that put this in their coffee.
Oh,
Like,
wow.
and you can put this on anything.
Yeah.
And honestly, it's huge, especially if you're like trying to cut down on whatever, trying to be healthier. This takes out like a lot of the condiments that you would put on your food or whatever, because it
How
just gives
cool.
it so much flavor.
That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah, Alex is a phenomenal guy, huge Christian, just supports our podcast, supports our nonprofit.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you for cologne.
Yes, definitely.
Our
Thank you
pleasure.
for coming on, and I'm glad the trip down here this time wasn't as
Yes,
frightening as last time. I
No,
told
we-
you that. We showed you that
yeah.
picture, dude. The propeller.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not
By
good.
God's grace, the propeller broke on the ground and
Yeah.
at 10,000 feet.
Yeah. Well, thank you again, Steve.
Oh,
Appreciate
man.
it. It was just
One last
lovely
time.
talking to you.
SteveTooth.com.
Steve Toth.
Toth.com.
TOTH.com.
And then socials, Instagram, Facebook.
Steve Toth for Kairos.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we'll put all those below when we put this episode
Cool.
out, so people can
Good.
go check out your Instagram and then also go donate.
Cool. Appreciate it.
Yeah, appreciate you.
Cool,
brother.
man. Thank you. God bless you, brother. Thanks.
Yeah.
Out.
Out.
Hey, what's up, guys? If you've been following me for a while, you know I'm a huge fan and supporter of Firecracker Farm. Alex, the owner, is not only an incredible human being, but he makes an incredible product. And that is why we could not be happier that they are sponsoring the Shoot Me Straight podcast. Each guest, when they come in, will get a sample of Firecracker Farm so they can take it back and enjoy. And I can tell you, to each person that we've given it to, they have not been disappointed. You can put these, put this salt on your favorite food, favorite beverage. I've even seen people put it in their coffee. They love it. There's an assortment of heat, so if you don't like it too hot, they definitely have that taken care of with some mild flavors. And then it goes all the way to extreme heat if you like to sweat. So if you guys are interested in purchasing some, go to firecracker.farm. All right, thank you for listening, and God bless.